It's very easy to get caught up in the words and the language. But when we go into the experience of one word, that experience stays. You may forget the word, but you never forget the experience. And so, yes, clarity of understanding is helpful. Clarity of understanding of what it is that we want in life. And I don't think I need to say much about power, because clearly Brother Eric dissected power very well, and you don't need any more understanding about that. But the 8 powers that we talk about of Raj Yoga, they are the foundation of those 8 powers is a very important thing to understand. And earlier this year, I was part of a workshop with some people, and I actually decided to take up these 8 powers with them. And I felt that it was important to actually group these 8 powers in such a way that we could easily practice them and live them. But the very fundamental, before I go there, the very fundamental practice of Raj Yoga is the practice of the awareness of the self as a spiritual being. And there are fundamentals of this practice. One is the awareness that I am this spiritual being, and this intrinsic nature of the this spiritual being is, sorry, I'm trying to get some more light on my face. I don't know why it's going dark. The fundamental aspect of the awareness of the self as a spiritual being is that we are intrinsically beings of goodness. And if I want to tap into this inner power that exists within myself, then this practice becomes an important aspect of my way of life. Raja Yoga, meditation, is not something that we do half an hour a day, a bit here and a bit there. Do it when you feel like it and don't do it when you don't feel like it. It doesn't work like that, because it's a way of life. How many times a day do you eat? Do you eat when you feel like it, when you need it? Or when it's time to eat, you get hungry, you look at your watch and you're hungry just because it's time to eat? We don't have to be hungry to be eating either, do we? And so it becomes, the physical eating becomes such a natural part of our life. In the same way, I don't stop and become who I truly am, which is a spiritual being. I am that all the time. And so maintaining that consciousness and that awareness becomes a very important aspect of our lives. And so it has to become a way of life. The way of life that I am, this spiritual being that resides here at the center of the forehead, whose intrinsic nature is peace, whose intrinsic nature is love, is joy, is purity, and is wisdom. And when we ask you to do this, we're not saying, well, it applies to some and not to others. Actually, every single one of us is a spiritual being, a soul. And each one of us is the same. Our capacities might be different, but in actual fact, our potential of experience is exactly the same. And so all of us have these, I like to think of these 8 powers actually as capabilities or abilities. And when you practice this awareness of the self as a spiritual being, then it's not that you're trying to get peace from somewhere. It's not that you're trying to get love from somewhere, but a fundamental belief and understanding that I'm already that. This is a very powerful thing. I'm already that. And what I'm really doing is I'm using my mind. I'm using my mind to take myself into the experience of that. And I'm using my mind through the quality of my thinking, through the quantity of my thoughts, and through the quality of my thoughts. All of these aspects become essential to take me into an experience. You know, if you think too much, if you think a lot, we all have the experience that when something is on our minds and bothering us, the speed of our thoughts is very fast. And try and stop a fast thinking mind, it's not possible. It's like if you're driving 100 kilometers an hour and you suddenly stop, what will happen? Your car will do a somersault many times over. And what will happen to the people inside the vehicle that's done a somersault? There will be danger. So a mind that's working so fast cannot be stopped so easily. So one of our first practice to be able to tap into those powers is to slow down our thinking. How much can I slow down my thinking? One thought at a time. And in fact, we have to do this all the time, but actually we begin with just in meditation. Just in meditation, do nothing but have one thought at one time, and that's all. Just, you might think, man, that's so simple. It is so simple. You think, well, that's easy. I can do that. One thought at a time. What do you think? Is it possible? One thought. And you know what practice of meditation, and actually I'm hesitant to use the word meditation, because the moment you say meditation, people go, okay, right, I've got to stop thinking. I can't do it. I've tried it so many times before and I can't do it. But that's not the case. And so I actually say, okay, we're not going to meditate. What are we going to do? We're simply just going to observe our thinking, observe our mind. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to think very, very slowly. And we're going to think one thought at a time, especially my sisters. Do you think it's possible? Because we're so good at multitasking, right? We can do 3 things, 10 things at the same time. We can be listening to something, doing something, and looking at something else. And we've got 3 things going on at the same time. And we feel a great sense of achievement when we do that. But what's happening in here? What's really happening in here? And so becoming conscious of one thing at a time, one thought at a time. If I want to access these powers, the power to withdraw, the power to pack up, and these powers are particularly the power to turn within and be in essence. The power to pack up, the power to withdraw, are the powers, are the ability to turn within and be in essence. And what I'm describing about the mind is the ability to really think one thought at a time. And so if you have to go somewhere far, we give the example that when you have to travel somewhere, you don't take too many things. You have to take very little as possible. And so for us to be able to journey inside ourselves, few thoughts, slow thoughts, but powerful thoughts, significant thoughts, important thoughts, valuable thoughts. And this is what was being referred to as having values, thoughts that are important, thoughts that are valuable. And when you do that, then your mind learns the ability to concentrate, and actually everything else that is extra, it says, okay, I don't want to get involved in that. So in essence means that power to withdraw, to go inside. Whenever you don't need your attention outside, go inside. Sit here at the center of the forehead. Look out through the eyes. Listen through the ears. And then know that having packed up your thought, or having withdrawn inside, you can just only have the thoughts that are essential to have. These two things go together. So the practice of the awareness of the self as a spiritual being helps me go into the essence, helps me practice peace, be peace, slow down. And then the second two powers that we normally talk about are the power to tolerate and power to accommodate. Accommodate, so many things come to us in life. And some of them we know about, some of them we don't know about, some of them we can predict, some of them we can't predict. We can't predict people and situations and circumstances. Life is a huge play, a drama of life that is coming at us. And so many people are participating in every scene that happens. So can I just throw my arms in the air and say, okay, well, I can't handle this. This is too much. No. So the ability to accept whatever happens, whatever comes my way, the ability to put up with the controversies of life. Tolerance is one of those aspects, paradoxes of life. And the ability to tolerate, and we have this lovely example. Tolerate doesn't mean that, okay, put up with it, put up with it, put up with it, and then there's a pressure cooker situation. There's a huge explosion, that all this amazing work that you did of tolerating someone's bad behavior for years and years, boom, it's all finished because you let them have it. You let them have it, as you've been putting up with so long, and that's it. You can't do it anymore, and you let them have it. And all this amazing tolerance that you had for so many years, it's all gone. It's all finished. Nothing is left anymore. That's not tolerance. Tolerance is to say, okay, this is how they are, but what is my contribution in their life? And why the practice of soul consciousness becomes important in this, because I know that the intrinsic nature of the soul is goodness, positivity, and emanating and giving and sharing. How often when you do something good, something positive, you know immediately you feel good in your heart and in your mind. There's this joy that washes over you, and you are absolutely ecstatic. You did a little simple job for someone, because the nature of the human spirit is to give, to share, to contribute. And as we do that, we begin to feel the power grow inside of us, accommodating the same thing. All the good things that come, hold on to those things that are not good, throw them out, leave them aside, don't pay any attention to them. The ability to accommodate. And for that, I need to remain loving and adjusting. Love is a very powerful ingredient in being able to tolerate and being able to adjust. And again, love is the original quality of the soul. Love and adjustment. So these two are vital in my relationship with others. And again, the practice of soul consciousness and a relationship with God. You know, God is the only unchanging force in this universe. Everything else is constantly changing. It's never the same. It's constantly changing. People, situations, circumstances, nature, the elements, everything. And the only one that's unchanging is God, the divine, the spiritual being, the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, never changes. Never, ever changes. It's the one source against whom I measure myself. That how close am I to that by being who, that I am the same, that unchanging, unwavering, unconditional, constant, always available spiritual energy. So the practice of Raja Yoga is this practice. If you want those 8 powers, essential practice of the self. And then a relationship and a connection with this unchanging, eternal, pure, unconditional, soft, loving, gentle presence in my life that is just a thought away. It's not very far. I don't have to go anywhere. I can sit exactly where I am and I turn my mind and I experience the presence. That simple. And this allows me to experience the next aspect of the 2 powers. The next 2 powers that we talk about are the powers to adjust, power to discern, and the power to judge. And for this, you require to be clean and clear. In order to discern, if you have any selfish or ulterior motive, you cannot be clear. If you are not clean, you cannot be clear. If there is any selfish motives, then that ulterior motive will make you perceive something to your advantage, for your benefit. You forget that there is benefit for greater good and the bigger picture, but you get caught up in serving your own self. There is something to be said for serving yourself. There is something else for self-preservation or self-centeredness or selfishness. If any of these are present, I cannot discern. I cannot, separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say. And when I can't separate what is right from wrong, then I cannot judge what is accurate. And judge is not in terms of being judgmental. There's 2 different things. Judging is one thing, judgmental is something else. If I become judgmental about people, then I am dictating what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is high, what is low, what is sin, what is charity. Who am I to judge that? That's not the judgment we're talking about. The judgment that we're talking about here, the power to judge that we're talking about here, is the ability to do the right things at the right time, in the right way, that serves everyone and the greater good. So it's only when I have that discernment that's beyond my selfish motives and interest that I can judge. And this requires the ability to stay clean. Stay clean, stay in the moment. Don't bring the past into the present. Don't bring someone else's thing into someone else's thing right now. Stay with what is in front of you and the way it presents itself in front of you. Don't allow yourself to be colored by what you think it might be or you want it to be. Then you cannot discern, and you cannot then judge what the right thing would be in that moment. So practicing cleanliness and clarity, this cleanliness of being in the moment at the present moment in time. And this is an ongoing practice, actually. How much am I able to move on? An example that I love is of Dadi Kumarka. Dadi Kumarka was the administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris before Dadi Janki. I remember talking to her about this once, and I said I saw her where someone had done something, and she told them that it was not right what they did. Next day, that person came in front of her, and it was as if nothing had happened. Nothing had happened to them. And it was as if she treated them as if everything was just perfectly fine. So I remember going to her and saying, Daddy, how do you do that? That yesterday you were having to tell them off about what they did, and today it's as if everything is okay. She said, what should I do? Should I be reminding them what they did wrong yesterday? No. She said, they are trying to forget. So my job is to help them forget. If I forget, they forget. And so my job is to continue to give them good wishes, good feelings. So this kind of cleanliness will allow us to deal with situations and people with so much benevolence, so much compassion. I think somebody mentioned compassion in your sharings earlier on. And then the next two powers, the power to face and the power to cooperate, the ultimate power. Life is so unpredictable, and anything can come to us at any time. And so fearlessness and humility are the two powers, two abilities, if you like, not powers, two abilities that will bring me the ability to face and the ability to cooperate. Fearlessness, because I know that I, as a soul, as a spiritual being, is indestructible. All others in my life are also indestructible. They may come and they may go, because life is like that. Nothing is forever. They play this amazing part with me in my life for as long as they do. And after that, they don't, because that time is finished. Now, it sounds very simple, and I don't mean to minimize the depth of our feelings and experiences and our love for each other. But the fundamental aspect, when I become aware that I honor who I am, I honor the other person, and I'm able to face a situation of difficulty. And then, of course, cooperation. Cooperation comes with humility. Each one of us has an amazing contribution to make in this world. Each of our hand, Dadi Janki used to talk about the 5 fingers. They're all different. And each one is required. This is little, this is a bit bigger, this was bigger still, and this, and the thumb. You couldn't, if you didn't have the thumb, what would you do with the 4 fingers? If you didn't have the little finger, it would not be complete. She used to talk about the importance of recognizing that each one is different. Each situation is different. Each circumstance is different. And it's valuable, the contribution that they make in our lives. And to honor that and being able to give cooperation to those. So you can see the foundation of the 8 powers is being able to remove this. Manoj Bhai talked about the rubber of body consciousness, this awareness of myself. I am this incredible, shining, unlimited spiritual energy. And when I sit inside this body, and I consider myself to be this physical, limited energy, what do? I confine this incredible soul, the spirit, into this cage of this body. And really, it is a cage. This hand can do only so much. I have a painful finger here, and it makes me just this tiny little finger. And I'm so debilitated by it. I can't open doors, I can't open jars, I can't open bottles so easily, and can't open the car door so easily. Tiny little finger. And yet, when I allow myself to recognize this incredible energy that I am, and allow myself to shine through here, through here, through here, and through my vibration, then I'm not confined to this body. My thoughts, we all have this experience of our thoughts being incredibly powerful, that people just I have to think about them and they feel my energy. And next thing I know, they're either at my door or they're on the phone. And never underestimate the power of our thoughts. I think about something happening, and before I know it, it's happening. But how much is that thought filled with that power of intention? And it's this ability we recognize through this practice of soul consciousness, the practice of my relationship with God, but also my ability to go above and beyond all situations and circumstances to a place that we know in Bhakti called Paramdham, the home of the soul, the sixth element, Brahmand, the sixth element of light, which is beyond the five physical elements as we know them. So the part of the practice of Raja Yoga is to be able to go up in that realm and then be able to come back down with the power and the energy of that realm and bring it here in the quality of my interactions, in every action that I perform, in every situation that I have to apply myself. Now, I know I'm making it sound so easy. It is easy, but it isn't easy. It's easy, but it isn't easy in the sense that it requires consistent practice. Practice, practice, and more practice. And it's not a practice that you can do whenever you feel like it, if you feel like it, once a month, once a week, once whenever. It's a practice that's required to be done every single day, as many times as you possibly can. Every hour, we practice every hour. We call it traffic control. Traffic of the mind, traffic of the thoughts, slowing it down, putting a brake, being still, being quiet. So the Raja Yoga practice is this practice. Go inside, be an observer, go above, and go beyond into that realm, the realm that I call my home, the place where I come from. So many things. And yes, it's true, I had amazing fortune of spending so much time with Dadi Janki. More importantly than that, amazing fortune to receive such special drishti and love from her. I translated for her for many years, and I learned everything I know from that. The ability to concentrate, the ability to understand the depth of truth that is contained within this Raja Yoga understanding that we think about. Because when you translate for someone, you have to get yourself out of the way. You have to hear what's being said and said it in the way, the meaning that it's said with. And I learned so much. And If it wasn't for that, I don't think that I'd be able to practice so much and learn so much that I have learned over the years. So I'll stop here to invite any thoughts that you might have, questions or whatever it is that you might like to open up.
The power of tolerance. How do I tolerate people who are unjust towards me?
You know, whatever comes our way is coming our way to show us something about ourselves. It's coming our way to teach us something that we need to learn. Can I have the humility to see that? Can I have an open mind and heart to say, okay, if something is coming my way, what is my lesson in this? Ultimately, what is just, what is not just, what is just in your opinion is not just in my opinion. And so everything becomes subjective at the end of the day. What somebody else thinks and feels, I have no idea. And so instead of, you know, in a sense, I'm judging the situation by saying it's just or it's not just. But if I can stay open to inquiry about my reaction to that, what is it? Not analyze. Analyze is one thing. Inquiry is something else. Being open to say, okay, so they're behaving like this. I remember asking Daddy Janki about some similar situation. Two people who were supposed to be kind of quite, living together, one a more senior and elder, one younger and more junior. And there was friction between those two. And my feeling was that the older one was more responsible, and surely they should be supporting the younger one instead of fighting with the younger one and all of this. And I didn't tell Daddy Janki this situation. I just told her that here's the situation. If this is happening, what should you be doing? And you know what she said to me? I'm saying to her, I'm getting on my high horse and saying to her, but surely the older one should be supporting the younger ones, and they're older and more senior. And Daddy said to me, if you want to help the situation, don't judge. Don't judge what the older one should be doing, what the younger should be doing. Just give them loving vibrations of peace. Support them by giving those vibrations so that their situation becomes resolved and that they're able to be friends and get on with each other, instead of you giving this negative energy to them by saying what's right and what's wrong, what should happen, what shouldn't happen. Because that's our default position. That gives us a sense of power. Talk about power. That gives us a sense of power. We think that we're right and this is what should happen. But what we say is not necessarily what should happen or will happen or can happen or must happen.
Great.
If it's happening to me, then I really have to say, what is this showing me? What is the lesson here? It's irrelevant whether someone is right or wrong. Even if it comes to me to just say, okay, tolerate. Okay, just accept. Even if it's teaching me that. But I have to have humility.
I'll just take quickly, how do we harness stamina when there's a lot of stress around us and the danger of behaviors worsening?
Well, when there's a stress around us, we have to make sure that we don't become affected by that stress. So what goes on inside of me is my responsibility. What goes on outside of me is not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility, right, wrong, none of it is my responsibility. My only responsibility is how I respond to the stress that's around me. Can I stay still? And that's, okay, so other people are stressful for whatever reason, they can't cope, and this is what's going on, but can I bring stillness? Can I bring calmness? Can I bring peace? Can I bring clarity to that energy? And so I will hold all of that that's going on around me when I do that.